and welcome to another episode of the Black Expat Podcast. My name is Carl, and I'm excited to be rocking with you guys for yet another episode. I am very honored, thankful, and grateful to be joined by an amazing woman today who will be joining and calling in shortly for episode 8 of the Her Story series. I'm very excited for her to share her story about how she ended up in Taiwan, which has a lot of things going on right now in regards to COVID. I'm hoping all of my friends and family, people that are like family in Taiwan, are doing safe all around the island. You guys are taking care of yourself and exercising level 3 protocol and all this, that, and the other. And before I jump into the interview with the guest, with the amazing Janet, when she calls into the show, make sure you guys check out my new YouTube video I just released of us on a boat doing boat stuff. Also, I'm going to release an article on Medium upcoming this week. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Black Expat Podcast Network. I have not released that on my social media, so you probably haven't seen it unless you listen to my previous podcast about it. But it is up, it is out, and I've already connected with quite a few amazing Black podcasters from all over the island. So make sure you go and check that out. I am very excited to talk to Janet today. Every time I've interacted with her, it's just been an amazing experience. I've learned a lot, grown a lot, and I am just super excited to have her on the show coming up shortly, actually. So once she is ready to call in and join the show, we can get that underway. So Janet, are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Happy Sunday. How are you?
I am doing all right this lovely Sunday morning. Are you staying safe? I heard Taiwan's on level 3 and everything now. So are you doing okay? You
Well,
indoors? You have to go to work and stuff like that?
I've been locked down since Friday night, so I'm all right.
Do you have do you need anything? You need some juice or some water? Can I send you some Uber Eats?
Gin and tonic.
Well, can you just talk a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you ended up living and being in Taiwan?
Okay, so I'm from the beautiful paradise Caribbean island of Saint Vincent and the Grenadines.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I used to work on the radio, and that was a big part of my life. And one day we had an advert, study in Taiwan, and I was responsible for recording the advert. And I just said to myself, you know what? Maybe I'll go study in Taiwan. And that's yeah, and that's how it all started. I went through the process, I applied, I got accepted, and here I am.
Now, when you say you worked in radio, because you have an amazing voice, as all of you guys listening can tell, in what capacity did you work in radio? Were you like a DJ? Were you the host of your own show? Like, what were you doing in radio?
Okay, so I was one man with three things to do. So I had, I was a newscaster, so I would go out and get the news, type it up, record it, post it.
Hmm.
Then I would DJ my own show in the afternoons, and then I would also travel throughout the Caribbean as a DJ.
Really? I had no,
Yes,
and this was in,
Saint Vincent.
I
Yeah,
said, was this in college or high school or like after college? When did this take
this,
place?
this was after college.
Huh.
This was
And
my
what,
job.
it's like, and what made you leave radio, like to decide to up and go to Taiwan? Was it like, you know what, I'm done with radio. I've reached the pivot of success. I'm ready to transition, or were you just looking for something different and something new to do?
I just thought, you know what, Taiwan. Hey, what the heck? I'll be far away from my family. I'll be able to, survive on my own. Hopefully, just experience a different culture.
Now, when you talk about experience of different cultures, was it something that you felt like you've always been, up for and wanted to do? And was Taiwan on like your list of places to go, or have you been able to travel to other places since being in Taiwan?
I have been able to travel to other places. Taiwan was definitely not on the list. It just happened.
Hmm.
But I've always been into like learning about different cultures, and I felt like if I stayed back home, I would be really close-minded, and that wasn't something I was open to.
Now, you came to Taiwan to study. Were you studying Chinese? Were you studying radio and broadcasting? Like, what types of things were you learning while you were here?
It's funny. I came here and I was like, maybe I should study communication because I love radio. But then I went straight into business and I hated it. And I haven't used my business degree since.
So then after school, what did you decide to do? Like once you finished studying, doing business, what did you see yourself transitioning into that kind of kept you here in Taiwan?
Okay, so I went home and the experience was terrible because I felt like I outgrew my country.
Really?
Yeah, the experience was really bad. I was like, oh, nothing's changed. I've changed, but nothing's changed here. I can't live here. I need to find somewhere else to be. So I came back to Taiwan, and it just so happened that I got employed to be an English teacher, and I loved it so much that that's what I've been doing ever since.
Now, when you say that you changed, right? When you're back home and you kind of discovered that you kind of outgrown, in what ways did Taiwan change you? What kind of person were you when you got to the island versus who you were when you left at that point in your life to go back home?
Okay, so I had very limited experiences back home. I mean, let's talk about homosexuality first. So in my country, it's illegal. And then I
Hmm.
came to Taiwan and I'm like, wow, so many people are just like living their lives. And I've always felt like if someone is homosexual, you should be able to live your life the way you feel like. You shouldn't be judged for it. But then when I went home, I'm like, people are still in this mindset where if you don't live according to how society wants you to live, then you're an outcast that just get away. So I felt like I can't live in a country where people are not accepted for who they truly are and you have to change based on, societal norms. So that's how I knew I've changed. Because I would be okay with saying, okay, this person is homosexual. They can't live here anymore. They have to move out of the country. They're going to, get abused or something. So for me, I felt like I had grown a lot. Like I outgrew the norms of my country and the thinking of the people. So I felt like maybe I should just go back to Taiwan. I felt very comfortable in Taiwan when I was first here, so just go back.
So I know you talk about like the cultural comparisons of, of your home country versus Taiwan, but what was it
Mhm.
like for you? Like, what were some of the hardest things to adjust to, just living on the island? Because I know the food, I mean, is obviously
Mhm.
quite different,
Yes,
and
yeah.
also the people would be quite different. But well, like, what were some of the things that you struggled to adjust with when you made your transition from Saint Vincent and the Grenadines to Taiwan?
It's funny. Back home, when I never experienced like, hey, you're different, because
Hmm.
it was just, I'm a person. We're all people. But the first time I experienced that was here in Taiwan. Hey, you're different. You're tall, you're black, you're different. So that took me some time to adjust because people would stare at me and I'll be like, why are they looking at me? Because in my mind, I'm just like, hey, I'm just a human like everyone else.
Hmm.
But walking around the streets, like you realize very quickly, like you are very different, and people would not be afraid to point that out to you. So that was kind of a shock for me.
Was it easy? Like, was it relatively easy for you to adjust to like the way in which you live? Because like I'm not really I'm not really sure how like the housing structure is in St. Vincent. If you want to talk to us about that a little bit, because I know the way that they live in Taiwan. When I first came, the bathroom situation definitely freaked me out because I didn't understand what a sink, toilet, shower was until I lived in Taiwan and I had a sink, toilet, shower, which I could only do for a month. And then it was walking on the street and seeing all the street food and the night markets, but then the smell of it was kind of a lot for me when I initially came here. It's like, how did you adjust to just living like in the houses that you had being in Taiwan, but also the food, right? And the things that you ate while you were here on the island.
Okay, let's talk about the bathroom situation first. So I never knew like you had like a wet bathroom, like a wet shower. So you shower in the same place where the toilet is. That was new to me because back home we don't have that. Everything is separate. The toilet is separate to the bathroom and the sink or whatever. So that was hard to adjust to, but I mean I adjusted to it quite quickly because I understood that this is what they have here. So I just had to get used to it. But the food on the other hand took me some time.
Hmm.
Yeah. I remember walking through the night market and thinking, what is that smell? So, so I've adjusted to that because now I'm thinking when you come to Taiwan, the food smells bad, but it tastes good. But in the
Right.
Caribbean, the food smells good and it tastes good. So I just had to like switch my thinking a little bit.
Yeah, food smell good and it tastes good. That's hilarious. It's like, what is your favorite meal? Well, I do want to ask, do you cook like at home when you're by yourself? Do you cook and make your own food?
Yes, I do. I have to because now I am a full-on vegetarian. I don't eat any meat at all, so I have to cook most of my meals by myself. Yes.
It's like, what would be your go-to dish that would remind you that you could make in Taiwan that would remind you of home, right? That would give you that sense of, yeah, this reminds me of being back home because it smells good and it tastes good.
Okay, so my favorite meal back home is pilau, but they make it with chicken back home. Here, because
Hmm.
I don't eat meat, I use soy chunks, and it's just like rice with the soy chunks, maybe some beans, mix it all together, stew it together, and it's delicious. For me, it's delicious. But
Hmm.
adjusting to the food here. So I really love plantains, and they don't have that here. So I've been frying banana. I've been frying banana. So if I feel like I want to have some plantains, I'll go to the market and get some bananas and fry them up and use my imagination, I guess,
To
while
kind of
I'm eating.
make the platanos come to life, man. I actually, I didn't really realize that. I found plantains in one location in like the south of Taiwan, but it still didn't taste the same when I tried to cook them. It might have been because I can't cook that well that particular dish. I can cook, y'all. I said that incorrectly. I can't cook plantains very well. It may have been that, but it didn't taste the same. I will say that. But like, what is your favorite Taiwanese dish to eat? Like when you're out and like if I came to visit you, even though I'm already here, if I came to visit you in Taiwan, what place would you take me to have good tasting food? It doesn't matter if it's Taiwanese or not, but good tasting food that you can find yourself eating here in Taiwan.
Well, my favorite Taiwanese dish is ma jiang mian. It's sesame noodles.
Mm.
So I would definitely take some. Who doesn't love noodles? I would take someone to have ma jiang mian for sure.
Noodles. I haven't really gotten into the noodles. Every time I go out and they say you want noodles or rice, because you'll order like a main dish and then it'll come
Uh-huh.
with noodles and rice for some reason. And I'm like, why do I want a side bowl of noodles? It's like noodles became the new French fries, which again is just like I don't want a side bowl of noodles. I want a side bowl of French fries. But anyway, that's a little bit off track. just a tad bit off track. But yeah, so what was it like going to school? I kind of skimmed over that, but I do want to circle back
Yeah.
to it for a second. What was it like going to school here? I didn't go to school in Taiwan. Like I taught in schools. But like what's the difference between like not the difference between what was your experience like in the classroom learning with other foreigners and Taiwanese students too? Like what was that
Mhm.
like for you?
Well, it was obvious that the foreigners were all grown up mentally, but the Taiwanese were still so very young. And
Hmm.
they have like this system in the classroom where if they don't understand something, they would never say, "Hey, I don't understand," to the professor. They'll just wait until after and find someone else to ask. So that was different for me because I was very outspoken in the classroom. I'd be like, "Hey, professor, can I ask you this? I'll ask you that." And people would always be annoyed because I was always asking questions. And I'm like, I'm here to learn. So I
Right.
should be able to. So I realized like in the Taiwanese system, it's just sit and listen to the teacher whether you understand or not. So that was hard for me to adjust to. But otherwise, it was pretty good. It was a pretty good experience.
And that's so interesting to hear because I thought, again, me assuming, I thought that in a collegiate based classroom that it would be different, right? That they would actually encourage dialogue and asking questions. I didn't know that it's the same experience for foreigners, but also I know a lot of my friends that I talked to that were in school, they were in school for like math and stuff like that. So it wasn't necessarily um I guess conversation based, but if you have a question, I would think you would want to raise your hand and ask it, right?
Yeah, a lot of my
So like
classmates never did that. They would like come to me after and be like, "Did you understand that? Can you explain that to me?" And I'll be like, "You have the opportunity to ask the professor, and you're waiting until the end to ask me." Like they would just not ask the teachers anything. They would
like
just sit and listen.
the person who's actually teaching you is right in front of you. You should probably utilize that resource. I wonder how
That's
you
what I
say
was
that.
thinking. But I mean, later on, I realized it's just like a system in Taiwan when you go to school, especially like in an elementary school, you don't question the teacher.
I wish that was true for foreign teacher classroom because my kids stayed raising their hands to ask stupid questions. I'm sorry. There's no such thing as a stupid question. raising their hands to ask unnecessary questions for the time in which they were asking them is what I would
But
like to
don't
say.
you just love it that they're so open now to just asking questions? Maybe this is the only opportunity they have to ask questions.
My response is always, why don't you go ask your mama? Now again, I didn't say your mama because you can't say that to the kids. You can say that to the kids, I guess, as long as you don't say your damn mama or something like that. But mine was like, oh, why don't you go ask your mama? Sound like something you and your mama should talk about. But again, I'm out of teaching, so I can say this
I
stuff
always
now.
I always ask, is it relevant to what we're discussing? And they'll be like, no. And so I'm like, let's just wait until some other time.
There you go. They went in the classroom, y'all. Relevant. What does that mean? It means, is it something teacher Carl want to hear? Yes or no? All right. If it's not, that means not relevant.
Let's
And it
move
means
on.
shut up. So yeah. so, so with teaching, right? So you were taught in Taiwan. Wait, before we get into the teaching question, what did you attend any like university parties? Were they fun? Did those things happen? Like were there any extracurricular activities that you could do or that you did while you were here
Dude, no one
in school?
invited me anywhere. Really. My college experience was not what I expected. You know, you're supposed to go to college and be invited to all the parties, but I was judging everyone who was partying because I was like, I need to get this degree. So maybe I should blame myself.
I'm not gonna lie. My first 3 years of college, I didn't drink. Not to say that you have to drink to have fun, y'all, but it does help sometimes. And I was the same way.
Exactly.
They was like, oh yeah, Carl don't drink. He don't want to come. I'm like, well, I actually would love to come. I just don't want to drink bottom shelf alcohol and then have a headache the next day all day. And then I opened the bar, so everything came full circle. But like, were there any like sports or anything like sports events and activities that you could attend in college?
They had sports, but I never attended. I didn't really care to be a part of any of that stuff.
So it was
I just
just
wanted
books and
to
boys, and I mean, sorry, just books and degrees.
books and bed.
B and B, the old fashioned way. So then, transitioning from college
Uh-huh.
into your own classroom, right? What was it like?
Mhm.
What is it like for you, or has it been like for you teaching in Taiwan, teaching the kids, and like what age group of kids did you mainly work with so far?
Okay, so when I first started teaching, I did kindergarten and elementary school in the same day. And that was fun. That was exciting because I feel like I'm a big kid myself. But now I teach elementary and junior high school students, and
Mm,
that's a whole different experience. I also think I'm the fun teacher because my students say that to me. I let them get away with a lot, but as long as they're learning, I'm okay. And they're
right.
not being disrespectful, I'm cool with that. But teaching for me is very fulfilling because I like to see the progress in my students. If I see you progressing, then I know that I'm doing something right.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's definitely a motto I have for my kids. It's like I didn't think I liked teaching until I actually saw that something I said actually stuck with one of the kids. And I didn't teach little kids when I first came. My first class was grade 6 kids, and I was like walking to the class playing Michael Jackson, like, oh yeah, everybody knows Michael Jackson, and they did, but they didn't like none of the music I was choosing. So then I have to get well versed in pop music. But but yeah, it's like that's what definitely kept me going was after the first year. I was like, oh, these kids actually remember my name and stuff that they learned, and they asked me questions. This is pretty cool. So like, is the school system structure what you expected when you got the job to come and teach in Taiwan? Like, and how is it different than the educational system that you had back at home?
Well, back home, you go to school at what, 8 o'clock? You get home at 3.
Right.
Not here. You go to school all day. It's so different. In classes are like 30 minutes or 1 hour, but it's pretty much the same thing. You learn vocabulary, you learn grammar, you learn phonics, and everything just flows together. So I like that. I like being at a school where they have like a foundation. You don't just throw the kids into English learning without giving them a foundation.
And like in regards to your own preparation, do you find yourself having to prepare a lot for each of your lessons, or has it been a case where over time, over the amount of time you spend in the classroom, it's become easier for you and more natural for you to just pick up a lesson, skim it for 10 minutes, and then go into the classroom and just kill it with the kids?
Yeah, I'm able to prep for maybe 5, 10 minutes and then I'm ready to go. I know exactly what I want to do. And unless I have to do like a project that takes more time to prepare, but otherwise I can just jump into the classroom and get going.
And like, how many hours in like a given day and also in a given week do you spend in the classroom teaching? And how much prep time do you usually get for each class?
So it depends on the day. So on Tuesdays, I just work for 4 hours, but otherwise, I work for 5 hours. Um, my prep time is I usually go early, and my boss recognizes this. I go to work like maybe an hour or 30 minutes earlier than I'm supposed to, just to
Oh,
yeah, just to get ready for my lessons because I want to be able to get the most out of my classes. So if
that's
I
good.
if I if I have more time and I can prepare like a fun class, like I like to if we're learning about food, I like to cook with my students. So I've been doing that for about 4 years now. We cook like different things and it's not just like it's not Taiwanese food, it's food from different cultures. So they really like that. So that takes some time to prepare. So if I go to work earlier, then I have more time to get ready for those classes.
So, could you see yourself teaching then for like an extended period of time in other countries, or is teaching kind of an avenue for you to, grow and develop into something else for your future?
Ooh, that's a fully loaded question. um I think there's a time limit on my teaching.
Hmm.
Maybe 2 or 3 more years tops, and then I can move on to something else.
Could you see yourself going back into radio and being a DJ or like a radio host again?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would love to do that, and I've been looking into it, and I'm like, do I? Am I ready? Am I ready to do that? So
And
I
like,
I definitely see myself doing it.
because I've also heard, like, I was reading a few articles that you're also quite the singer as well. Is that something you could see yourself also diving back into? Singer, performer, artist, all those things.
Well, singing has always been my passion ever since
Mm.
I was younger. And that's one of the things I was able to jump back into when I got here. Because when I first got here, I joined a band and I was singing in that band for a while. And now I'm doing like acoustic shows, which they're very low key, but I have like a nice little fan base and everyone shows up to show their support. So I really enjoy entertaining people.
So like is it safe to say that singing is one of those passions that you kind of rediscovered once you came to Taiwan? And how have you been able to kind of maintain that outside of the band? Like what led you to pick back up and get back into one of your passions, which was singing while here in Taiwan?
It was definitely an accident. Like one day I walked into uh, a pub and this guy was singing and he played a song and I was sitting at the table and I just started singing and he was like, "Whoa, you definitely have to perform that song with me." And that's how it all started. And once this guy left, I decided, you know what, let me just continue singing. So I got a few people together, a pianist, the guitarist, and we've been jamming ever since.
Wow. So like how do you feel like being in the classroom and
Mhm.
being on stage singing and just being regular Janet, like regular everyday Janet?
Mhm.
How do you feel differently when you're on stage, right? Because I'm a firm believer that when you teach and you're in front of kids, it's kind of a performance too that you're putting on just to keep them focused and engaged with you. But again, obviously singing to a crowd of people is also a way in which you can perform as well. But like what
Right.
kind of feeling do you have when you're on stage versus when you're in the classroom teaching versus, just your everyday life of being Janet? How does it change you in any way?
Well, all around, I feel joy in regular life, at the job, also singing. I feel joy all around, and I feel like teaching has prepared me for being in front of a crowd because now I am able to keep my audience's attention like I do with my students, and it's not as hard as it used to be a long time ago because now I'm a little bit more experienced. I just feel joy and that is important to me. If I'm not feeling good while I'm doing it, I probably shouldn't be doing it. So I'm happy that I am able to feel some sort of joy when I perform, when I teach, when I wake up in the morning, I jump out of bed and say, "Whoa, I'm here."
Well, and that I mean, again, that's very important because I think some of the best teachers I've met and that I've talked to, they all have similar stories, right? Because even for myself, I had terrible stage fright. I had a stutter. I still kind of have it a little bit as well. I mean, all these things wrong, and teaching definitely like opened the door for me to kind of find my true self and really hone in on some of my old passions and skills that I thought I would never gain and thought I would never get back or I could ever even possess. And I think it definitely shows, in how you communicate and how you operate in the classroom, right? Because again, you don't have to be super passionate, super teacher to be, in the classroom as an ESL teacher, especially.
True.
But
True.
it's definitely important to bring, any passion to the class because that's what the kids feed off of. So whether it's a
Yeah.
cooking class or, you're introducing a grammar lesson, it's the
Mhm.
passion in which you deliver. And if you have that joy, it just makes your experience better, but also the experience better for the kids as well.
And the students feel your energy too. If you go in and you're already like, okay, I hate doing this, I don't want to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway because I get paid to do it, they can feel that energy. So if you go into the classroom with that energy, then you're already failing. Might as well just do the best you can. Go in, be positive, think positively, and welcome them into your fold. Do you tell stories in your classroom, like life story?
The funny thing is, because I started with high school only kids and older ones. That's how I would start every class.
Hmm.
I was 21 years old when I first started teaching. So when I walked in, and I had a roommate, and I would just walk in and say, "Guess what my roommate or my crazy dog did last night?" And I would just talk to the kids for like 5 or 10 minutes, and I would ask them questions about their days, and they would always think my stories were funny because like I was a foreigner, I was legit lost. I ate dumplings for the first 6 months of being in Taiwan because I didn't know other food existed, right? Wasn't no Google Maps, wasn't no iPhone. It was the little T9 dialing and text messaging. For those of you guys who know what T9 is, Google it. But right. So my kids would crack up like, "Oh my God, you ate dumplings again last night, didn't you?" But yeah, like the stories is what helped them connect with me because they
Mhm.
saw me as a real person, right? That was trying
Right.
to get through them and teach them. But it definitely helps. So is that something that you use in the classroom?
I actually switched it around. In the beginning, I used to tell so many life stories. And then I figured, you know what? These kids have stories to tell too. So for the first 15 minutes of my class, I allow my students to just tell me whatever story they want to tell me. And sometimes I hear things I don't think I should be hearing, but at least at least they're opening up.
Exactly. And like because I usually taught like a speech-based class, one of my first assignments was always I would ask the kids to in 16 sentences, tell me who you are, right? And they would always say, "I am this, I am 14, I am Taiwanese." And I said, "No, give me more than that." And I would usually make some kids cry because it's like, "I don't know what else to say. I really am just 14 and Taiwanese." Like, no, what makes you happy? What makes you smile? What makes you laugh? Like, oh, you want me to think deeper? I'm like, yeah, yeah, do that. Because again, it's just once you know a lot about them, you can kind of use that to manage the classroom. And like you said, build those genuine connections with students as well.
Right.
Hey, so enough about these kids. How do you yourself, how did you find community in Taiwan, right? And how did you make Taiwan feel more like home or comfortable for you?
Whew, that's a question right there. Community in Taiwan. Well, I've always believed that you should make the best of where you are. Just make the best of it. And I'm very happy in Taiwan. I have no complaints. If I ever get to the moment in my life where okay, I'm not happy here anymore, then I can leave. And I've always been like a loner, so it's not a problem for me to be alone. But what I've noticed in Taiwan is it's so hard. Maybe it's just me. It's so hard to make friends
Mm.
because you meet someone and you connect with them and then they're like, okay, let's hang out sometime, and they share, you exchange information, and you're the only one trying to organize a get together. Like, hey, let's hang out. Hey, let's hang out. And at some point, it starts to feel like you're pushing this person to make a more genuine connection with them. So for me, I keep to myself a lot. I do things by myself. And if I meet people, then that's awesome too.
That's very interesting that you say that because I can understand it did kind of when I came to Taichung, I definitely felt that because Taipei is the big city, same as Chicago. Taichung is kind of like a suburb, right? And I think it does have that suburb vibe to it. But even in Taipei, pre the Facebook boom, Instagram boom,
Mhm.
line cell phones everywhere. When I first came to Taiwan, when I would go out and meet somebody, you had to like exchange numbers, and you had to
Right.
make an effort to call. Like you had to actually, it wasn't no find me on Facebook or to get my line. It was you had to like make an effort to pick up the phone and call them. So I would go out and meet a bunch of people, and not everyone would call me back, or I wouldn't even get everyone's number. But the people who did call, like that's when I knew like, okay, this could be something real. But I had a huge sample size to choose from. But when you go out
Right.
in a place like Taichung, where you'll maybe meet one or two or three people, and usually when you meet someone in Taichung, correct me if I'm wrong, this may not be your experience, but they're pretty much already grouped up. Like I've always
Yes,
only met
everyone has
groups
their
of
clique.
people.
Yeah, everyone definitely has their clique already.
So then when you kind of enter as, an outsider, it's like kind of trying to fit into someone else's already established thing. And the weird
Right.
thing is like they establish them in many different ways, whether you work with them, usually is what it is, or you came
Hmm.
with them, or you just known them from some other way. But it
Hmm.
is hard to kind of break into those clicky groups that people have. It specifically in Taichung. Taipei is a little bit different. There is more of
Right.
a networking scene there, I feel like, but definitely in
Hmm.
Taichung, like you said, if you don't have like an established clique, if you will, it's hard to kind
Right.
of break into that.
I agree. I agree with you. That has been my experience. I find when I go to Taipei, maybe for a weekend, I make more genuine connections that I've ever made here in Taichung. And I don't know why it's so difficult to make connections with people. Maybe I'm the problem. I don't know.
No, I think I mean we kind of both in that same boat. Because again, for me, like when I say a connection, it's not just because there are a bunch of people that you and I feel like we both know that we can see out and we know them because we've seen them once or twice, maybe even
Right.
20 times, right? But they're not
Right.
the people that I would invite to a birthday party, or people that
Right.
I
Right.
would go out to if I'm having a bad day, like, hey, let's go hang out, right? When we say genuine connection being an expat, I mean people that call and check on me, whether it's once a week or once a month, that, hey, how's it going? I haven't talked to you, I just want to see how you're doing. Can we get lunch or something like that kind of genuine connection.
Exactly. Yes, that's very hard to find.
and
That
then
is
like
super hard to find.
and then like as in, I don't want to say introvert, but as a person that's okay with being alone, because I'm the same. I can be at home all day by myself, video games and a TV and a beer, and I'm good. But uh, like what do you find yourself then connecting more with family, connecting more with old friends, or like have you found that those one or two people that that make it okay for you to to be okay while being in Taiwan, or is that all just like something that you get from yourself?
Well, I do have people who I've connected with. Like my friends back home, I still talk to them almost once or twice a week. And I do have very close, maybe two or three friends here in Taiwan that I can hang out with. But otherwise, I go to the mountains and talk to the trees. That is okay for me.
She is not talking about marijuana, y'all. Taiwan has some really nice trees. She's really talking about going and talking with nature. I just want everybody to know. I mean, if she is doing marijuana, so what? Y'all judge your mama, but I'm just
let's
letting y'all know.
let's clear that up. I am not talking about marijuana. Don't come
Okay,
find me.
I just want to make sure it is illegal in Taiwan, and we are not trying to get anybody deported during the pandemic because I don't think they got enough police officers right now. Um,
Hi,
but
Nicole.
oh hey Coop, how you doing, girl? Check out all right. Right. Yeah. And I think see, and now I want to dive deeper into this making friends thing. It is hard making friends. I thought I was crazy. Because I lived in Taipei for 8 years and I had buttloads of friends. I had these big houses. I went to Taichung and I meet people and be like, yeah, let's connect. And then they just like, nah, I'm good. Like, okay. Are you
You
really
just
good
have
at
all
that?
this information in your phone, and I'm this person. If we connect like online or on Facebook or something, I'll send you a message. Hey, what's up? How you doing? Even if it's like once every month. Hey, how you doing? And if I notice that you're never messaging me, then I get the message.
Right. Right. And it's
Yeah.
also, I think, and also for me, again, I'm aging myself a little bit, but like even with technology, I found it weird sometimes that, you meet somebody out for one time, you get on social media, like, hey, what's up? You want to hang out? To me, like, I don't mind doing it, but it sometimes feel weird because like, I don't want anybody to think I'm hitting on them or like, trying to, just trying to invade their space. It's like, hey, I genuinely just want to hang out and get coffee with you or, have a smoothie. I don't know what people do when they hang out, but but like, how do you do that? It changed so fast. One day it was phone calls, next day it was tweet me or something. It was just so fast.
It's getting so strange. I'm the opposite because I'm like, okay, I just want to be friends with people. And then I realized later on that they're actually hitting on me. And then we can't be friends anymore. I've lost so many connections because people genuinely try to flirt with me and I didn't realize it, and I was just like thinking we were friends, and now we're not friends anymore.
So do you find that happening with only the foreign population, or does that also happen with the Taiwanese people that you meet as well?
Oh, Taiwanese will tell you straight up if they want to date you. They don't beat around the bush. So I don't have that problem with Taiwanese.
Oh, so it's the foreigners that be trying to slide
It's
in
the
the
foreigners,
DMs.
yeah.
Okay. Because like when I first came to Taiwan, I had mostly Taiwanese friends. Again, I couldn't find any black people until I hired a few. I was I was out here hurting. But again, my Taiwanese friends were great, right? And I struggled more so with the dating scene when I first came, as
Mm,
opposed to like the friendship finding. And I was actually okay with having mostly Taiwanese and like a sprinkle of Anglo-Saxon friends as well.
right. Yeah, I had a good few Taiwanese friends. It was harder to make foreign friends because you never know, and they're never straight up. Like a guy would approach you, and be like, "Hey, you cool? Let's hang out," but that could mean so many things. But if a Taiwanese says, "Hey, let's hang out," it's "Hey, let's hang out."
Yep. And they're gonna take you to a nice place that you ain't never been before. They're gonna ask you what you like, and they're gonna make sure they go to a place you like. And they probably gonna invite friends. Like, yeah, that's how I made a lot of friends by,
Exactly.
yeah.
Next thing you know, you're playing badminton at 9 o'clock at night. You know.
Drinking bubble milk tea, and you're gonna have
Hello.
the bubble guts the next day because I'm lactose intolerant. But because thing is, like you can't say no. Like you can't say no to like free bubble milk tea, but they always
Wait, hold
bring
on.
bubble
We're
milk
not just
tea.
gonna skip over that story. You have a story about
Huh?
bubble milk tea.
Oh, because I didn't know. You know, when people say like they don't usually say bubble milk tea, or sometimes they do. But they're like, oh, bubble tea, and I'm like,
Right.
oh, it's white. Oh, okay, okay, cool. I could drink this. But man,
Mm.
we were just out hanging out. We went to like a tea shop. We had the bubble tea. Then went to another shop. We had bubble tea, and it was like 2 hours in. I drank two of them because I was thirsty. Because it's hot as hell in Taiwan. Y'all know it'd be hot as it's like 110 degrees there for no damn reason. But anyway, I was out walking. I had to, ooh man, we was on like a boardwalk, and I had to sprint because Taiwan don't got a lot of outside bathrooms, and some places you got to pay to use the bathroom. It's a whole thing. But I had to run a good 75 minutes to a bathroom because I had to bubble milk tea guts. It was 7 to 10 minutes of a full out sprint in the dead heat. But
Ooh.
I definitely survived that, y'all. So hey, if you lactose intolerant, don't drink bubble milk tea. It is not for you. But
Ooh, that's a disgusting story.
I'm sorry, you asked for it, so you got it. In what ways, how do you entertain yourself? What do you do for fun? Like when you want to have a good night out on the
Mm.
town in Taiwan, where do you go? What do you do? And how often do you do it?
Oh, well, it depends. I love dancing, so I find myself going dancing maybe once a week. There's this little Filipino disco that has the best jam, the best vibes. So I go in there like on a Sunday at 2, have a lunch, go in there at 2, leave at 6, have dinner, get home, shower, in bed by 10. I mean, it sounds like an old person thing, but that's fun. You get to dance all afternoon and you get home at a decent time. I also like hiking, but not like the intense hiking because I'm afraid of heights. So I just go to the mountains and just, walk around for a couple hours. Or KTV. KTV is my favorite as well. I like to go to KTV. Or people watching at the train station. There's so many things I do. Just go to the train station, sit there and look at people come and go and think of their stories.
So this Filipino DJ, will people be dancing? Like, do they be dancing, and is the music good? Do they dance with you? Is it more of a friendly vibe compared to the I don't like it's only like three clubs in Taichung, and all of them are just filled with smoke and jumping up and down. But like, is it
Yeah.
actual dancing and a real experience when you go to the Filipino discos?
Oh, it's an experience. There are poles in there that you can swing on. So we get down. And the
Okay.
thing is, you get in there, you can go by yourself. Usually I go by myself. And by the end of the afternoon, I have like 10 people just dancing with me in a circle. So they welcome you. It's a community. It's an experience. I like it. They play all sorts of music. It's not just like EDM, do 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 do, but it's a nice vibe.
Well, that's good. I think that's something that I haven't really ever really thought about, but I just thought about now. It's women, especially Black women, when you go out and being able to go out to a club or to like honestly, to a bar or anywhere by yourself, right? And I know, and I'm speaking from a very American perspective too. Like I
Mhm.
understand that well. It's like I don't know that many women who are like, yeah, I just go out by myself to a bar or to a club. It's a huge safety thing. But like, do you feel safe going out by yourself in Taiwan to like not just to clubs and bars, but to anywhere like
Anywhere.
late at
I
night
feel,
into the mountains and stuff
yeah.
like that?
I go running late at night, sometimes at midnight. I put on my running shoes and I go running and I feel okay. Taiwan is pretty safe for me as a woman. I feel very safe going out by myself. I've never had an issue.
Like in regards to identity, what has it been like for you? And again, this can be a very quick, short answer, or as long as you would like it. But what is it like to be a Black woman living in
Mhm.
Taiwan? Like how have you worked with identity and being a Black woman in Taiwan? That's the question I want to ask.
Okay, so here's the thing. When I first came to Taiwan, I was just a woman in Taiwan, a student. But I've like over the years, people are putting so many labels, and so now I'm the Black woman in Taiwan. Yes, I am Black, but my experience is not limited to just me being Black. So if I if I go through something, it's not because of my Blackness. And I never want to be like, hey, this thing is happening to me because I'm Black.
Hmm.
I am just a woman experiencing something. Yes, there are cases where things are happening to me because of the color of my skin, but I don't want that to be the first thing I jump to when something happens or when I'm thinking about my experience. Whenever I travel, I've noticed like before corona, I would always Google how how are black women treated in this country. And I
Hmm.
never used to do that before until I came to Taiwan and people started pointing out that, hey, you're different. You're black. You're not like us. Before it was just, I'm traveling. But now I have to attach the color because I want to make sure that am I accepted in this place.
And
Which is,
huh?
go ahead, go ahead.
No, and I find that interesting because and when I said this before, like when I first started podcasting, I got a lot of strong feedback from some people and even close friends. I was like, yeah, when I first started traveling, like I didn't travel as Black Carl, and then I was like, I traveled as Carl, as a person out there. Like I knew I was Black, but like you said, it wasn't the first thing that came to my mind, and it wasn't how I judged my experience. Now I know as a Black person, I know when it's because I'm Black and when it's because I'm a foreigner or because I don't look like I don't belong here, right? I think those are
Right.
three very different things that, the more you either live in a place or the more experiences you have outside of your community, you can identify when those things are the case. So is that like similar to like along the lines of what you're kind of referring to as well?
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. But I
'Cause
also don't want to be that person who would always, like some people you meet them and then everything is because it's because of this one thing. Like I've met lots of people who are like, this thing is happening to me because I'm black. Lots of black people say that.
and I met a bunch
But
of people.
I
Huh?
mean, but I mean, maybe it's happening to you because you deserve it, or yeah,
It's like, that was the very next thing I was gonna say. Like maybe you're just an asshole. You ever think about that? That may be the root cause of most of your problems. And with that being said, we're gonna take a quick break to hear from our sponsors. Revolution Beauty is affordable and accessible makeup for all. Since day one, Revolution has been challenging beauty norms and championing diversity. All products are 100% cruelty free and designed based on consumer feedback, so Revolution has something for every skin type and any occasion. We are teaming up with Revolution Beauty to give you 20% off your next purchase by using code PODGO20. That code PODGO20 at revolutionbeauty.us. Check out the link in our show notes and join the revolution today. All right, thank you, sponsor. So, I'm gonna insert an ad. I'll record live, y'all. I'm gonna insert an ad right after I say that. But yeah. And feel free not to answer this question. Though it's a deep personal question for some people. But like, what has it been like dating in Taiwan? Is it easy to date? Is it easy to find people that you're interested in? to, explore relationships with being abroad and in another country, specifically in Taiwan?
It's easy to find people, but it's not easy to find people who you can see longevity with.
Hmm.
So when I first got here, 3 months in, I got engaged. And that was a bad idea. But I thought, okay, this might work out. And ever since my engagement broke off, I've been more mindful of who I entertain.
Hmm.
Also because I'm Black, because a lot of people have fetishes. So I got to be careful of that. I also got to be careful, okay, what's this person really after? So it's easy to find people, but it's hard to find people who are interested in staying around for a long time.
Okay, so I've developed like I have some questions that I'll ask maybe when I am dating or when I'm starting to date someone to kind of one, like you said, figure out if it's a fetish or if it's like you genuinely like me as a person. But also to
Right.
kind of figure out, like you said, when you're a foreigner, it's so easy, and correct me if I'm wrong, this may not be your experience, but also if you just feel differently about it. It's so easy for us to become detached to something because we can always, I think, like you said earlier, I can leave Taiwan at any point in time I want to. It's like I can,
Exactly.
right? So I can detach from something, including a relationship,
Mhm.
whenever I want to and not feel guilty about it because I'm going back home to family and sometimes shoot
Right.
a boyfriend or a dip or a whole husband and wife and kids. But like, are there any questions that you ask or any things that you like notice right away when you can tell someone it's just, and I'm speaking specifically for foreigners and even for Taiwanese, right? That they're just trying to date and play, not trying to date and stay, is what I want to
Right.
say.
What kind of questions can you ask? I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm doing a research right now. What questions can I ask to find out if someone's trying to stick around for the long run?
My first one, date on the second date. Can I meet your parents? There you go. That's how
What?
you
On
know.
the second date? Get out of town.
You gotta, but thing is, it's not what they say after that, is what their face look like. If they like, huh, well, you know what? Or if they like hell to the no, then you're like, hey, that hell to the no came a little too quick. You need to reel it in some.
Don't you think that's a little soon, though?
But well, if they know me, like by the second date, they probably know I'm goofy and silly, so it won't be
Right.
too out of bounds. But it's like, again, I want to see what your reaction is. If it's yeah, or if it's like nah, we not there yet. Then it's kind of how they respond to the question that gets it. And
Ah, here's a good question. Sorry to cut you off, but if you're dating someone, a good question to ask them is, if we fall in love and we feel like this can go on forever, if I decide to leave, will you follow me?
mm, and that's not a second date question for sure. But yeah, I feel you on that.
That's a question you ask after the first 3 months, because after 3 months, you know if someone's. So-
But see, what, Janet, like, okay, I understand 3 months, but honestly, for me, especially, it depends on how you date, right? So if in the first month you spend, because again, I've dated people I've worked with for better, for worse. Like if I see you every day, then after a month, like I feel like you could still ask that question. And again, it's not necessarily will you go with me and stay forever, but if you're an expat and you're like bouncing around in different countries, like why not come back to America with me for a year or two? Or why not go to another country and teach together, right? Like if like isn't
Right.
that is that fair to ask someone after a month, or is 3 months like a good segue to know like we're getting mildly serious? Because I feel like when you're abroad as an expat, things just move faster. Or am I wrong?
They do move faster, but it depends on the connection you've made within the month. I mean,
Mm.
if you're still really lukewarm about each other, definitely don't ask that question in the first month. But if you're quite comfortable and you're able to open up with each other, you can have these open discussions, not even related to each other. It can be like a hypothetical situation. If you're in love with someone, would you follow them wherever they go? Would you want me to follow you wherever you go? It could be a hypothetical question, but it depends on the kind of connection you've made within the month, if you want to ask that question within a month.
That makes sense. Look at that. I just learned something today. Look at me. Always learning. Oh, Black Expat Podcast. My last question is, and then this is This is not about you. I just kind of want to know though, because I just thought about this. I'm gonna ask this in upcoming interviews too. I'm doing a
Mhm.
series on love and relationships. But how do breakups work in Taiwan from what you've seen? I've seen a lot. Before I get into mine, like, have you seen others break up? I'm talking about expats and foreigners too. Like, what does it look and feel like? Or, like, how does it happen?
Ooh, that's a T question right there.
Because I've
So,
seen. Ooh,
yeah, I've seen some really shitty breakups. So when my Taiwanese friends break up, it's a little dangerous. Yeah, it can get wild. Like I've seen Taiwanese girls, like especially if they date foreigners, they'll ask the foreigner for everything they've ever given to them. Like if I got you a phone or whatever, give it back. We're breaking up, give it back, whatever. And they're gonna say shit about you for the rest of their lives.
dang,
I've
that's
seen
intense.
Taiwanese and I've seen Taiwanese and Taiwanese break up, and it's like you you don't want to be around for that. But I like when foreigners break up. I've noticed that they just disconnect. This is weird because I'm friends with most of my exes, and there's no animosity. We just didn't work out, and it's fine. But
Right.
I've noticed like here in Taiwan, when people break up, it's just like we can't be friends anymore. Just whatever, let go.
And that's so mind-boggling to me because it's like for me, it's if you were friends, if the root of your relationship was friendship and you guys actually liked each other, then
Mhm.
if you're just not working out romantically or like long term, then just have an honest conversation about it. Again, I know it hurts and it sucks and the anger will be there, but just take a month apart. And I feel like that friendship can still, because people say I'm crazy. Like, how are you still friends with your exes? And I'm like, because I didn't go around breaking their heart. Like, I didn't cheat or I didn't set their house on fire. Like we just had an adult. I was like, hey, or they were like, hey, this ain't where it's at. And I'm like, you know what? You right. I feel that too, baby girl. You want some juice? And then that's it.
You
We
like
drink
to give juice, huh?
we drink some juice and then we drink some juice, have some coffee, and we go on about our business. And
And that's the
uh,
mature thing to do. But a lot of people who are out here in relationships are not mature at all. That's why they end up like cheating and hurting each other because they're not mature or mentally ready to be in relationships. So when they break up, it's a whole explosion.
Cause someone got mad at me for saying like I think it's real crazy that you say you want to fight for love when he literally said he don't love you, and they got so mad. I was like, but he did say it though. He did tell you. I know, but I'm fighting for it. I'm like, oh, you need some juice because that's what it is. You need some good juice. You are not getting enough vitamins to think straight. But yeah, okay. But I definitely want to hit on that. But I guess one of my final questions. Like do you have a plan to go home or like is there another destination around the world that you could see yourself living in other than Taiwan?
I was actually planning to go home last year.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
if everything had worked out, then I would have maybe stayed or moved to the US. But at this point, there's no moving to the US.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
no.
I don't know. I mean,
So
it's all right.
you're saying that in low tone, so you don't even believe yourself.
It's all right.
You're like, I'm so hopeful that it's all right, but we both know.
I mean, it depends on where you go. Like, I wouldn't recommend New York or California or anything else. But yeah, no, I feel you though. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Baltimore. Anyway, so I mean, I could see myself moving to Europe, Sweden, but not for long. I don't think I would live there for long. Maybe 6 months.
Yeah, just like spend some time.
Yeah, just get around Europe for a while.
So how has COVID then changed your plans in regards to like, places you want to live or just things you wanted to do, right? Because I know when COVID happened last year for me, again, I wanted to go home for all these things, but I ended up staying in Taiwan and I kind of felt trapped because like you said, America was crazy. It was wilding back then. They had that orange dude in office. But like how did COVID kind of like change your plan and like your life path at all?
Uh, I wanted to travel. Like I like to travel 2 or 3 times a year, and now I can't do that. But I've like segued into now traveling around Taiwan. So I've been doing a lot of like going to Xiaoliuqiu or just like now the plans are different. They've changed quite a bit, but I'm still able to have varying experiences here in Taiwan and make the most of it.
Okay, because I know, and also that's my last question about that. I know there's been a recent surge in the COVID cases in Taiwan. I know Taiwan handled it beautifully from the start, because we didn't go through a big lockdown or any big restrictions. But like, has it been scary these past few days with all with the recent surge and in cases? And how are you preparing for it moving forward? If it gets really bad, are you going to leave? So like, what are some of your thought processes and also your preparation behind the recent COVID surge there?
Dude, I've been scared as hell, but I'm definitely not going to the supermarket to buy toilet paper. Anyway, I, I have been a bit worried, but I'm confident that the government is doing the best that they can. If it does get to a point where, hey, we're in lockdown, I'm okay with lockdown. Listen, I need my alone time. So if I could stay home and just relax for a month or two or however long, just chill, hey, I'm down. As far as handling the COVID situation, I feel like Taiwan is doing the best so far right now. So if I leave, what am I leaving to go to? Where if I stay, I know, I mean, we have a competent system here, so I'll be fine. Yeah, so I think staying put for now is the best thing I could possibly do.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, so thanks, Janet. This is the point of the podcast where if you have any questions for me, go ahead and ask them. Or is there anything else that you would like to add?
I
You
got
can
a
go ahead and
question. I got a question.
yeah.
What's this juice that you're always drinking? What flavor is it?
My juice. I do. I had a bar, so I have like a little special cocktail. I like passion fruit and mango juice mixed with a little bit of gin and a little bit of tonic water, and also some tomato juice, and it tastes really, really good. That's definitely something that I enjoy drinking.
That sounds partly Caribbean.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, minus the tomato, but it sounds very passion fruit. That sounds and mango. That sounds very Caribbean.
Okay. Okay.
Who is Musha Fama?
I'm not sure. Misha, well, you can't accept Collins now, but if you want to type your question, I'll be happy to ask Janet for you. Are there any other questions or anything else you want to know or ask about or talk about, Janet, about your experience in
Um,
Taiwan?
Not really. No, Taiwan is amazing. How do you feel with the closing of the bar?
Yeah, that's my next podcast I'm going to do on Wednesday. But no, I think I'm actually honestly I'm still processing it. Uh I mean, like with COVID now, like again, it good that it did close because Taiwan, we wouldn't have been able to be open during this time anyway.
Right.
Just with everything going on. So I mean, everything kind of happens for a reason. So I'm kind of glad on that front about it. But the overall impact of it, mental health wise, and just a whole lot of things, it's been tough. But I think given time and other opportunity, I'll get to a place where I'm better with it. Because I've just been in Taiwan for so long, and I definitely wanted to create something for us, place people to feel comfortable. And we fell short in a lot of places as well, admittedly so, but we also did a lot of great things. And I want to create a space. I want to maintain something like that just for us. So
Mm.
again, once the world gets back on its feet, with this whole pandemic thing, hopefully I'll be able to. Well, not hopefully, I'm definitely going to be building something else up. I'm actually working on something, but just with COVID, it's had to put a lot of it on the back burner. But yeah, it hurts, sad, all that. But happy vibes, happy thoughts, and I want to
Well,
live a
I am
life of
grateful.
gratitude.
I'm grateful to you guys because you created a space where I met some amazing people and had really great experiences. So I am grateful. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was always a pleasure having you there. I still have your picture, our Michael Jackson picture that we took at the bar. I
Be
don't remember that
there.
day.
Be there.
I had I had that red jacket on. I looked a hot mess. I don't even know what I was. I don't know what I
Nah,
was
you
doing.
look good. You look good.
It's still on my Instagram. I'm about to pull it up. Made me cry, Janet. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today, Janet. I really appreciate it. I hope you have an amazing Sunday. Stay safe out there. Yeah, and thanks for being on the show. I
You
really
too.
appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Thank you. Great conversation. And thank you all for tuning in to another episode of the Black Expat Podcast. Thank you so much for Janet for joining us today. Again, if you have any other questions, send them to me and I'll ask Janet for you and I'll talk about it on my next podcast. Maybe. I don't know. It depends on how I feel. No, I definitely will. Definitely send me a message. And if you want some of my juice, I'm gonna patent this juice. I'm gonna come up with my juice formula. Don't steal it because I told you mostly what it is, but it is one thing I left out. So if you want some of Carl's special juice, you know what? That sounds weird. Forget I said that. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Black Expat Podcast. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. I got new videos up, and you check out the Black Expat Podcast Network that I just launched. Again, a huge thank you and a warm goodbye to Janet, who gave an amazing interview today. Thank you so much for joining. And thank you so much to everyone who tuned in today. Y'all know what time it is. Thank you so much. My name is Carl, the Black Expat. Woo! And we are out of here.